Hi, I'm Rick Snyder. We've talked about this forever. Pizza and pigskin tours, where we eat pizza, we walk around, see a little bit of historical sites and all that. Well, it's finally happening. You can go to my website, monumentalthoughts.com, and see where how you can get tickets. The tickets do include the price of pizza and non-alcoholic drinks. Pay for your own beer. But we're going to walk around Georgetown, 20, 30 minutes. I'm going to show you a lot of cool stuff. Then we're just going to sit and talk and eat pizza and whatever you want to ask, I'll talk about, as long as they don't get me in court. So make sure you come and see the pizza and pigskin tours at monumentalthoughts.com, and I'll be eating pizza with you soon.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Hogsty. This is your host, Alex Zeese. I am coming to you from our northern offices, and how you all doing today? I had a 9-hour car drive yesterday. I'm still tired.
Well, it's kind of weird that we're paying rent at an office in upstate New York, but I'm glad we are because it shows that our reach has grown.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I actually, I have something I'll talk to you about. Funny story, talking to someone at work about something like that. We can talk about that off the air.
Oh, okay.
This guy's basically created a corporation, and he's like charging everything to him. Like, you're gonna go to jail at some point.
Yeah, let's not bring that up on the air. You want to ask me about it? Let's bring it off the air.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. It is the week before training camp starts down in Richmond, so I'm sure a lot of you are getting excited, getting geared up, putting on your burgundy and gold face paint and your funny outfits to go down into training camp. Steve is flashing me his Washington Redskins shirt right now, which I think that's one of your... You only seem to wear like 4 shirts for the show, and I think that's one of them.
This is one of them.
How many Reds... Yeah, you own, what, 4 Redskins shirts still?
No, there's more than that, but the suspicious nature in me saves my burgundy ones for game days. I only wear my burgundy Redskins shirts on Sunday game days.
Oh, okay. Well, you're wearing one now, technically, isn't
I know,
it?
but I don't
or is that
wear
more
these
red?
on game days. I have to wear burgundy on game days.
Oh, okay.
Remember, I have
okay.
OCD, Alex. You got to understand.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm not a superstitious person unless it's football. You know,
it's not
like,
superstition.
so I'm the
it's
same
my
way.
mind going, you got to wear this burgundy shirt on game days.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with superstition. I'm not superstitious at all. But so in terms of the other, I've got 2 of these gray ones, that are more subdued, and I wear those around a lot. And so the ones you're talking about.
Oh, that's gray.
Yeah.
See, because people don't know this, but the room you're in is actually very burgundy. So I think the burgundy light is bouncing off the gray, and it looks burgundy on camera.
Yeah, the fact that I have a burgundy and gold room is actually an accident.
Yes, your ex did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unknowingly did it. I was like, cool, you picked the right colors. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
It's not that she asked me. She just did it, of course.
No, I know. Well, anyway, so that's Steve's superstition for game day. My only superstition I ever follow on game day is I do a little toast to the gods to hope for no injuries, the football gods, because, that's about it.
Well, see, I also have a couple jerseys that I don't wear ever. I've got, because I don't really do, I've got a Darryl Green jersey. I think I have a LeVar Arrington jersey.
Sure.
That I just don't like jerseys, and so I don't wear them.
I don't find wearing a jersey particularly comfortable.
I also think it's silly.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, I get it.
I would maybe wear it to a game. If I'm going to a game, I might wear a jersey. But that's it. I would never wear it anywhere else.
Sure. Yeah, many years ago, I was at a job where I had to do job interviews, and a guy showed up wearing a jersey, and I'm like, this is a job interview. Is this? It might be the most expensive shirt he owns because jerseys are hundreds of dollars, but it's not the appropriate shirt for a job interview.
Not if you're the interviewee. No.
Yeah, and even if you're like getting a job at McDonald's, wear like something with a collar. So there's some work advice.
It's probably good for you though, as the guy he was competing with.
Oh, no. I was interviewing him. I was the interviewer.
Oh yeah, I would flush somebody automatically if you know that. Of course, in my world,
yeah. I was nice.
in my
Let him
world,
do the interview.
Lawyers don't wear anything but business, at a minimum, business casual,
of
but
course.
usually suits. So
This was like a low-end minimum wage job, but still, I'm not hiring a guy with that.
no.
And it was an Eagles jersey, too, so I didn't hire him
that's
for double
definitely
reasons.
out. Yeah, you're going to wear an Eagle jersey to a job interview in Washington, D.C. That doesn't show good judgment at all.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to it. So training camp is this week, Steve. I think we want to run through some of that stuff just so fans know what to expect. Do we want to start with Richmond because Richmond's first? Do this chronologically?
So the Redskins are giving Richmond what appears to me to be some kind of make good, deal. Because recall the Richmond training camp deal was actually terminated, and I think they waived the fee for that Richmond pays for the last year. So I think that's right. And so they gave Richmond the July 27th through July 31st as sort of a, here, fine, you can have a few extra days. And so that is that. And then the rest of the schedule here is this. August 2nd through August 26th is in Ashburn, and they're mainly the only days that are off, and we think that these are preseason game weeks basically. So if you want to go, August 2nd through the 6th, then there's a game on the 7th, and then the 8th through the 10th, and then they have the 11th through the 14th off. For some unknown reason. I don't know why they're taking that many days off. There was probably a travel day in there, I would assume. Do you have the preseason schedule up? Look that up.
I don't have that up, but I can pull that up.
Pull that up. And then we've got the 15th through the 18th. And then yet again, there's a game weekend, 19th through the 22nd. Practice picks back up on Monday.
Okay, so preseason first game is actually August 12th. So...
Where is it? Is it away or home?
I think that's at New England. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. So that's why. And so then the 11th is a travel day, 12th is game day, 13th, 14th are day off, and then practice starts back up on Sunday on the 15th.
Right. So 12th, 20th is going to be Bengals, and 28th is we're hosting Baltimore.
Yeah, and the Bengals is in Cincinnati, right? And so
no, Bengals is here.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Washington gets 2 home. Yeah,
okay.
1 away, 2 home.
But so anyway, so the last practice on the 18th, then 19th, and then they have off until Monday after that. That's many days off. And then camp concludes on the 26th. So that is the schedule. We will be there for a few days, assuming the team cooperates, in August. But we are not going to Richmond. So this year, nobody could...
It's a long drive from where I am to Richmond. It's longer for you. And Jamal's got to work, and it's all during the work week, Richmond this year,
well,
right?
And our guy, no one wanted to go, and I frankly blew it and didn't get the application in on time. But that's okay.
Yeah,
he'll get over himself.
It's interesting to me, and we didn't mention this, that the team is going to have one practice at FedEx Field open to the public.
Yes.
That they advertise that I think's kind of interesting. I believe that's Friday the 6th.
It is. To me, that strikes me as a massive high school pep rally.
It kind of has the pep rally vibe, but you know what? At training camp, there's always that one weekend that is the salute to the fans, which is just the glorified pep rally.
It's like Fan Appreciation Day, I think is what they call it.
Yeah. Right. It's just a pep rally.
That's what
like you said.
This is what Fan Appreciation Day has turned into. Is this FedEx pep rally?
You know what? I'm honestly fine with that. Doing one at FedEx Field like that's kind of cool. I'd like to see maybe in the future, as they can plan these out just for PR reasons. It'd be kind of cool if they did. I know they don't want to do a full training camp away, but do one at FedEx Field, maybe do one at College Park. Like find some unusual stadiums to do one practice at that are fair, within driving distance. Maybe you go down to UVA for one.
No, I think that would be a great idea. They
usually, for a PR perspective, it's fun.
They usually do one at Andrews Air Force Base.
Do they?
Yeah, they have in the past. They'll have one practice there. I know it's been sometimes during the preseason. I think they've done it during the regular season once or twice too.
That seems like a very Ron Rivera type thing to want to do too.
It was before him.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think he would be behind that.
There's no, in case anybody's looked, there's no COVID-19 restriction type language in what the team has published on their website. So if anybody's wondering about that, I hope you aren't. I hope you're just living your life. But if you are concerned, the team has put nothing out about it. So take that for whatever you will.
The other thing, the one thing I think that is different is it used to be you didn't need to register, but I think you did need to register this time for training camp.
No, you always need to register. Yeah, because they always make you get a ticket as a fan.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. They always make you register.
I always thought it was kind of like loosey-goosey in past years.
No.
Okay. Okay.
I guess they're worried about too many people showing up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, when I would go to Richmond the last 2 or 3 seasons, maybe 3,000 people were there.
I mean, there was a time when they had that problem.
Oh, yeah. The RG3 season, the first one, I remember they got overwhelmed because everyone was hyped to see him.
Yeah.
And then it just dropped off a cliff after that.
After the team imploded.
Yeah. The one thing and I know from the team perspective it won't matter, but I do wonder what Richmond's going to do with that facility they built down there now.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a nice facility, the practice facility. It's maybe not on par with like a top-end college facility now, but it's decent. Like, I wonder if they'll try and push the VCU or Richmond Spiders, which is University of Richmond. Maybe they'll take it over and start using it as their practice facility. I don't know.
They probably don't have a plan. Have you ever heard of the Alamo Dome?
Yeah, of course.
Alamo Dome is in San Antonio. They built that thing on the vain hope that they would bring an NFL team to San Antonio, and of course that never happened. And so the thing is set mostly unused, except for major concerts for however long it's been, 25 years.
I think it's 30 years old now. Yeah,
right. And they've never had a regular events in there ever. And so cities sometimes build these things, assuming or
thinking it through,
hoping or praying that they're going to get a team. And so Richmond built this facility knowing they're going to have the Redskins in there for a few years. My guess is they didn't have much of a plan for after. Sure, they could try to sell whoever, UVA or somebody, but that's not gonna do much for them.
No. I mean, really, you have enough space there since it's 2 football fields. Where if you put more money into it, I guess you could build an actual stadium.
Why though?
Yeah, like that. Well, again, unless you can convince UV or VCU or University of Richmond to use it as a stadium,
why
there's
would
no.
They have a stadium. Both those teams, right?
VCU doesn't. Well, VCU doesn't have a college football team.
Oh, okay.
They did in the 50s. You would be trying to convince them to create one, I guess. I've always thought that's what they should do. Like, if you're trying to make the best out of a bad situation,
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they just accept the fact that they have a lot of land that's not being used.
Right. Which is what it really is.
It's what it's been for years, aside from 2 weeks in, July and August.
Right. Well, I think they might have used it for some high school football games, but there's no stands, which is weird. So.
Look, in Texas, we have stadiums for high school football. There's a stadium in my town. My suburban town here has a stadium.
Right, and they're like 15,000-foot professional or 15,000 seat professional stadiums.
Yes,
they're
roughly,
if not bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, Mars is definitely not bigger, but yes, it's along those lines. Yeah, and there's several of them in the Houston area like that.
Oh, I know. I my in-laws live by one, and I always drive by and I'm like, that it's bigger than like the soccer stadiums they build for MLS and stuff like that. It's comical.
More popular than soccer by far.
Sure. I mean, high school football in Texas. Come on.
Yeah. By the way, just for the record, I'm officially rooting for every team that's playing the U.S. women's national team in the Olympics. So I thought I'd get that out there. So I encourage everybody to root against them for the next 2 weeks. But go ahead.
I saw, speaking of the Olympics, since that's going on, there's this great video circulating the net right now of the U.S. Men's basketball team about to take on New Zealand. And it's the New Zealand guys doing their traditional pregame ritual that they do, the chanting and all that stuff. And it's just the cutaway shots of all the NBA guys just like looking at them being like, what is going on?
Nobody ever accused pro basketball players of being geniuses.
Yeah, I know. All right, so I think we kind of covered what's going on at training camp. If you're going, I hope you have fun. It's probably the last time in Richmond, so make sure you go to like the good barbecue joints down there, and there's a lot of fun stuff around where that practice facility is, but no one ever went to them, which was idiotic.
Well, remember we had a representative from like the Richmond Public Relations Office on that one year who was talking about some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think that was the first or second year. Yeah,
I can't remember her name, but yeah, we had somebody, and that was back when Richmond was actually trying to make it work.
Right. And it failed miserably.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of things fail, but that failed pretty spectacularly.
As Rick Snyder says, never do business with the Washington Redskins.
Yep.
You will lose.
Yeah. All right, well, why don't we move on, talk about the next thing we want to talk about. You want to discuss this thing in the Athletic.
I want to talk about training camp expectations first, since we're on training
camp.
Oh,
right. We had that on the list, too. Sorry, I deleted the whole training camp thing from my list, and that was part of it.
I was like, wait, you skipped 20 minutes of talk.
Okay, so training camp expectations. How do we want to do this? We want to talk about just what we're expecting from individual players or units first?
Well, from a sort of a broad sense, we didn't have a training camp last year at all.
Right.
The team didn't have a training camp last year. This year, the Washington, along with every other team, has one, which is great. So, the 2021 Washington, whatever you want to call them. By the way, this is a side note, but I did notice that the Cleveland Indians renamed themselves yesterday to the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah.
Everybody see this? And now I think the name is stupid, but put that aside. This is how to do it, Jason,
Just
right?
pick a name.
This is how to do it. They didn't agonize in a Maoist struggle session for 2 years over it. I think they announced in maybe December that they were changing the team name, and then they just did it. Boom, done.
Yeah.
Granted, they picked a really freaking stupid name, but that's besides the point.
It's a local thing.
It's
apparently.
Still ridiculous. Yeah, apparently it is. Apparently, there's some statue over a bridge or something that's called the Guardian.
It's a famous statue.
Yeah, who knows?
In Cleveland.
But point is, they didn't agonize and struggle and beat themselves with a wet noodle forever over it. They just decided and said, "Here it is. Boom, it's done." And they took 6 months or whatever. That's how to do it. You do not need, because the new Washington name is going to be dumb too. Just be prepared, everybody. It's going to be dumb.
All sports team names are dumb until you win. There's 2 baseball teams named after sock colors. Come on.
Yeah. Well, that's true. The Red Sox and the White Sox.
Yeah.
The
Lakers are called the Lakers, and there's no lakes.
Yeah. The Cleveland Browns are named after a guy. Browns is not a color; it's a dude who owned the team.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. A lot of team names are dumb. And so I just don't. I've really come around on. I used to think what Washington was doing in this name thing was smart. I now kind of think it's dumb. I sort of liked. Again, I don't like the name. I don't like changing Redskins at all, as we know. But that's past.
Well, you don't like change.
Well, I love the name Redskins.
Yeah,
but that's not the point. The point is the model for how to do it is what Cleveland did. They announced it. They thought about it for a couple months, and then they just changed the name and they announced it. Period.
They said, "Hey, here's something that with a local tie that we like. Go with it."
Because I can just tell Washington is overthinking it. I can tell.
Oh, they absolutely are.
They're wringing their hands, and how do we make everybody happy? And we can't offend a single soul. And oh my God, somebody needs. Dan Snyder needs to decide and do it. Announce the name tomorrow, whatever it is, and then people either live with it or not. Most of the fans, I might be gone, but most of the fans will accept it because they're DC natives, DMV natives, and it's their team, and it'll be fine. And they just need to end the madness. That's my advice.
Well, I've said before, most of the sports teams' names here I don't like, honest. I haven't liked in the past. Like when the Nationals became the Nationals, I wanted them to either go Senators or Grays.
I don't know why they wouldn't have gone Senators. I don't have a vested interest in it at all, but I don't know why you wouldn't want to be the Senators. I think that'd be cool.
Right. That's your historic baseball team name here.
Yeah.
Right? Right. So, that's – yeah. But they went Nationals. And you know what? You live with it. You move on.
That's right. That's my point. So pick whatever you want, Dan, but just pick it and stop all this nonsense and just pick it and be done. If you want to be the Warriors or the Red Wolves or whatever, just do it. and everybody will get over it. And then, again, you may lose a few stubborn people like me, but you'll grow new fans, and it'll be fine. Just the idea that they're going to wring their hands for a whole nother year over this, oh my God, it's torturous.
Yeah, they are taking it. It's taken a long time.
It's ridiculous at this point.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want me on their fan appreciation panel because I'd be missing.
Well, they didn't even. I applied for it, and they didn't even send me a rejection notice. So
you don't count.
Yeah, I applied for that, and I happen to know multiple people said they sent my name in too. I didn't even get a Dear John.
Because you and I have mouthed off for too long about too many things on this show.
Right. Well, yeah, why would you need to pay me for my advice when they could just have some intern listen to this and say, here's one good idea they had after listening to 10 hours?
Exactly.
All right, let's get back to training camp expectations.
Yeah, so point is, from a big picture perspective, what do we want to have happen in training camp? That's sort of where I was going with this. And the first and most important thing here is that the offense is totally different. And so I think it always takes the offense a little bit longer than a defense to sort of get integrated and get going. We definitely saw that in OTAs. But more important,
time and time again.
Yeah, right. But particularly this year, we really did. And so the first goal for OTAs for the Washington coaching staff is to get this offense up to a competitive NFL level. Mm-hmm. Forget the quarterback competition. There isn't one. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the man. There's legitimate questions about, whether Mark Bullock said it on this show, if he's just Mr. Gadget guy, they need to work on his role here. So the number one goal for me is offensive integration.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's going to be a big part of this is developing, and particularly in the passing game, I think it's going to be important to develop that relationship, keep developing it between Ryan and the top receivers. And the thing is, we've added 3 new wide receivers to what was already a good wide-out tight end combo, but we didn't have anything really after that. Cam Sims, nice extra piece, but it's not like he put up great numbers as the number 2 guy until towards the end of the season. And you need somebody who's going to do that at a consistent basis. And now you have multiple options, so it'll be interesting to see how they utilize that. And can Fitzpatrick, take advantage of a lot of speed and what, at least on paper, looks like you should be running a very spread-heavy offense, in my mind right now. You're talking, if you're putting the best 5 guys out there for him, it's 3 wideouts, a tight end, and a running back right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So we're looking at not a heavy power team now. We're looking at a spread out team.
And I don't know if they have the offensive line to run a power anyway.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
By the way, you know what story we totally ignored? The Brandon Scherff, speaking offensive line, the deadline to negotiate contracts with franchise tag players has come and gone now, which means that Brandon Scherff will play 2021 on the franchise tag. Because he's been tagged twice, the cost would go up enormously if they tagged him a third time. So in effect, this means that Brandon Scherff will be a free agent, and I'm assuming that means then that he probably will be gone next year. So everybody needs to get used to the idea that the Redskins are going to
move on.
They are going to stupidly let the best player they've drafted in many, many years go in free agency, which is a bit mind-boggling when you think about the fact that they could have offered him a massive contract like 2 years ago and failed to do so.
Yeah. And look, it does kind of stink that they've botched this yet again with a good player. And look, Kirk is not Brandon Scherff level, but this is the exact same thing that we did with Kirk Cousins. And so that's really frustrating.
He's the team's only All-Pro since Matt Turk in the early 90s, was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you don't count a punter, it goes back before that.
It goes way back. Yeah.
Trent Williams was never a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah.
He was a second teamer. And so Washington has really screwed the pooch. And I know there's a group of fans out there who are the eternal optimists and will always support the team. And, where I'm glad he's gone. He's been hurt and, we can replace him.
That's stupid.
Wes Martin is here. Yeah. Who cares? Look, it's not a good thing to lose a first-team All-Pro ever.
Right.
Granted, Scherf has been hurt a little bit. I understand that. But you're still letting an immense talent go. And I think that's just inconceivably stupid. And like you said, I mean, they could have done this before. They didn't. Yeah. We heard a rumor they had offered Scherf a big contract, but it's pretty telling that nobody ever said what the terms are. And my guess is they probably didn't offer him a real market value contract. And now they're going to let him go.
Too.
And so we're going to have welcome to the Wes Schweitzer era or something, I guess. Who knows?
Yeah. Luckily, they brought in, who was it from the Dolphins that was here before?
Eric Flowers.
Yeah, Eric Flowers, too. So, we have some depth there for this year, but, you hope they will work it out, but I don't think in the history of the league anyone's ever worked out a deal after 2 franchise tags.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall what I said a couple months ago is it matters what happens right before the tag because that's the deadline. It looked like nothing happened. Right. There was no reports that they were even talking or who knows what was going on behind closed doors, but we didn't hear any reports at all. And so they're just going to let him walk.
And we're seeing the same thing with John Allen, frankly. Like, they're saying they want to get a deal done. Well, get a deal done.
Make him an offer.
Yeah.
Why does he? Yeah. He didn't have to play on the franchise on the 5th-year option. Why do that? If you want to keep him, make him an offer. Mm-hmm. The longer you wait, the more expensive the contract will be, unless he has a down year, and then you may not want to offer him a contract in the first place. So I don't. The prior leadership team, if you want to call Bruce Allen a leader, did this. Now Ron Rivera's doing it. I don't really understand how they're managing their roster in this regard.
Well, I mean, the only question I have is there some piece of paper somewhere that says we don't pay players X after X amount?
How's that worked out?
Yeah, exactly.
And now, granted, the Minnesota Vikings fans are now tired of Kirk Cousins and want him gone.
Sure,
but that's not the point.
Yeah,
and the frank fact of the matter is, old Kirky Poo was the best quarterback from a consistency in numbers standpoint that Washington had in decades.
I mean, he was a Pro Bowler. I know he got in as an alternate, but when's the last time we had a Pro Bowl quarterback?
Yeah, forever, right? Brad Johnson, I guess. But forever ago. I mean, I wouldn't never have given Kirk a fully guaranteed contract ever, and he could go pound sand for that, But anyway, point is, I think we made the point. This is Kirk Cousins Part 2. They're going to let him go, and it's stupid, and they should have signed him at least a year ago, if not 2 years ago, and they just didn't.
Yeah. I mean, let him hit the market, and watch how people react when he signs something that's like $10 million a year, because that's really what the market is for a guard.
No. I mean, Zach Martin's making a lot more than that, and if Brandon is maybe looked at as a step down from him, but maybe not anybody else, and he's got the resume. He's not going to make $10 million.
Okay, so let's say $14 million, because I think Martin's around 15.
I think he's going to be up at 16 or 17 million.
Yeah. All right. Well, regardless, people will flip out here when they see that he signed for probably less than he made this year.
Yeah.
So.
And they could have, and if you'd done it 2 years ago, you could have signed him to 5 years. You'd have 3 years left, and he'd be, about washed up by the end of the 5th year if you had done it 2 years ago and just bit the bullet and paid him.
Right.
So they really screwed this up.
They absolutely did. So that's annoying.
Sorry, but anyway, back to training camp. So
back to training camp.
My original point was offensive integration ought to be goal number one, and I think that's more important for this team in particular than in other years because there's a serious problem about that you brought up, which is. What is this offense really going to be? Is it a spread offense, as you suggest? Does the coaching staff view it as something else? I don't know if we really know the answer to that. And so that's the number one thing I'm
either.
watching for.
I mean, I've got a firm kind of I think any fan does. I've got a firm grasp of who the guys are and what they can do. And at least in my head, when I look at that, I say it's a lot of spread. It's a lot of gadget plays because you've got multiple guys who can play running back and wide receiver. Even if you cut Steve Sims Jr. and Isaiah Wright, you still have 2 or 3 guys who can do both.
Yes.
At this point, which is crazy to think about when you're talking about creating plays as an NFL offense. But will they take advantage of it? They had more guys like that last year, and I don't think they did a good job taking advantage of that. Last year, I think Steve Sims only had like 5 or 6 runs. It wasn't many. Why wouldn't you? I would do it twice a game, frankly, with someone like that. Just to keep teams off balance. I don't care if it works out every time. It's just another thing to watch for.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right.
So what people like you or me who are super fans might see, we know it's not always what the coaches want to do.
Absolutely.
So if they want to line up and play power football, this is not a roster for that right now.
And I don't necessarily think they want to do that, but I don't know if we really know what Ron Rivera and Scott Turner really want this offense to become. And I think that's ought to be the number one goal for training camp overall, ought to be establish an offensive identity and integrate the pieces. That's what I want to see, number one. And then number two, I think somebody needs to figure out the secondary.
Yeah.
That's my number 2 goal is granted, William Jackson, starter, number 1 corner. We got that. But beyond that, do we really know? We've heard good things about Benjamin St. Juste. I mean, Kendall Fuller's on a big contract, but is he?
We understand we got something in Cam Curl. If you're talking
Curl,
secondary.
Yeah. But, who's the free safety? Who's going to be the slot corner? Who's the outside corner? Is St. Juste really going to be able to play, or not? I mean, is he a training camp wonder or an OTA wonder? I think that needs to be figured out. That's number 2 for me.
To me, the thing on defense, I get what the importance of the secondary. It's establishing the linebackers. Can this be a dominant group? I think I've always been a Cole Holcomb fan. He's got athletic talent beyond most linebackers. He struggles in coverage sometimes. A lot of guys do. But in terms of sideline-to-sideline speed, he's very good. Bostic has kind of been an okay filler. I don't know what they're going to do with that third linebacker role yet. But with teams playing so much nickel, I'm really worried about Holcomb and Jamin Davis now. Can they really step up and show that could be the linebacker duo for this team for the foreseeable future with those 2 guys? And then, you're going to have a third guy who you bring in to be your base set guy from time to time. But that's been a weakness on this roster for probably 10 years, is that true linebacker core.
Yes.
We've had decent guys fill in. Will Compton was okay. We've had a couple guys here and there, but no one's ever since London Fletcher got past his prime. And you all know what I mean. Like his last 2 or 3 years, he wasn't very good.
No.
Yeah. He kind of just could stand there, and if you came within his arm's range, he got you. But he wasn't going many places.
In terms of linebackers, no, this can't be a dominant linebacker core. But your point is valid. That was going to be my number 3 was linebacker. So we're saying we agree. I think the fans here probably have a higher and better view of Cole Holcomb than maybe the rest of the NFL does. He's a smart guy.
He's got a good motor.
Yeah. He's a good team guy and all that. Is he a dominant linebacker? I don't know about that. The big question is Jamin Davis. What position is he going to play, and how long is it going to take for him to kind of get going?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The position thing is always a tricky one because, like I said, with teams now playing nickel most of the time anyway, it's not like anyone's a true middle linebacker anymore. At least not in that kind of package. Because where's the middle line? In a nickel, you have your 2 linebackers. They kind of split the difference over where they line up, It's not like one's in the middle and one's off to the side somewhere, and then you just leave another side open. So that'll be
it's the scheme thing. I mean, in the base defense, certainly there's obviously a middle linebacker. And the question
in the
is,
base there is.
The question is, how long is it going to take Jamin Davis to become the middle linebacker? We've been saying that forever. I mean, I don't know if they're just going to walk in and let him do that day one.
Yeah, it sounds like they've been going pretty heavy on him. I was surprised to see how much they said he was playing middle linebacker in OTAs.
This is why it's a big training camp issue.
Yeah, I was surprised by that because in my mind, let him not be the middle linebacker the first year. Let him play, outside linebacker. Well, he learns the book, but that doesn't seem to be what their plan is.
That was my thought. I mean, again, this is why we're raising it as a training camp issue is this.
Sure.
Work out. Do I think it's going to be dominant? Absolutely not. But they need to work out the linebacker situation. Who's going to play where? How fast can they bring Jamin Davis along? By the way, I did actually see when I was trying to advertise our content on Twitter, the first picture that came up when I opened it was a photo of two cars, I guess. Jamin Davis bought like a McLaren, and Benjamin St. Juste bought some car. I mean, I think you would forward it. I think is why I saw it. You had for our Hawkseye Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, drive whatever you want. Who cares? Do I think that's a good use of money, especially for a third-round pick? No.
No.
Yeah.
Very much a no. I mean, I know the McLaren is, a step up price-wise from the Audi, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what the Audi costs, but the McLaren's an expensive car.
Yeah, that's a six-figure car easily.
I think. More than that. Yeah, I mean, So,
yeah.
Anyway, that's just a drive whatever you want, but personally, I think you ought to save your money. But regardless.
Yeah. I'm as liberal as I am. When it comes to what you spend your money on, I'm with you where it's like, I don't spend a lot of money on things that depreciate in value within 10 minutes of you owning them.
You could have a nice, reasonable car that's fairly fancy.
Right.
You don't have to go out and do that.
You could go buy a Lexus. Lexus is very comfortable. A Mercedes, very nice car, very comfortable.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page there. I saw that and I was like, oi.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the top three training camp issues here. So what's left to decide? I mean, I think the next thing for me is offensive line.
Okay.
I mean, we know
really a gelling question.
Yes. Who's going to play where, and how long is it going to take them to gel and become a decent unit?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we know that Brandon for one more year is going to be the right guard.
Solid. Yeah.
And we know that Charles Leno is going to be the left tackle. Beyond that, and we know that Chase Rouillet is the center, but beyond that, I don't know if we know anything.
Well, here's the crazy thing. Think about this. Everyone says they played well last year. We changed 3 out of 5 positions potentially over last year. Because it's not clear who's going to play left. Or left guard. That's a competition. Left tackle, it's looking like Leno, which would be a flip. But, I think that's still a competition, too, a little bit on that side. And we clearly cut, Moses, so we're going to have a new right guard. Even though people thought we had a good line, they still went out and changed 3 out of 5 positions. So that's pretty interesting to me.
Well, yeah, and I didn't think we had a great line. I think that's, again, a bit...
I'm saying publicly... And like PFF and all those sites you hate, they thought we had a at least average to above average line.
Oh, they might be average. Yeah, average to slightly above average, sure. But, I mean, if anybody thinks it's like an elite line, you're looking through burgundy and gold-colored glasses.
Yeah, I'm not saying elite. I'm saying, at least middle of the pack, maybe 16 to top 10 range.
Maybe. I mean, possibly. Yeah. But this is the open issue. Right.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, when I look at the line and I look at that kid we drafted out of Texas, Cosme, I see star potential there.
John Jansen for the new generation, perhaps.
I see. Maybe, but I always felt like Jansen was more of a better pass blocker than run blocker. Cosme looks to me like he's going to be a great zone run blocker.
John Jansen, I love John Jansen. Remember, this man played with 2 broken hands, with casts on both hands one time?
Yeah, he had the double balls, right?
Yeah, double club hands. That's a football player right there.
Right. When you think of the old Hogs, who was it that had the club hand on the Hogs? And that was such a big thing.
Oh, God, yeah. Was it Grimm?
It might have been Grimm.
I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was Grimm or Jacoby. I feel like one of them had one hand was always in a club. Because he was like, it's broken.
Yeah, I don't think it was Jacoby.
But it was one of them, and I feel like they had the cast on there for like 2 years somehow. And, they were really just doing it so they had an extra club to beat people
Yeah,
with.
really, just to beat people over the head. You're fine. You're actually fine. We're going to put all of our linemen with clubs.
Right. And just,
All 10 of them.
you can't get called for holding with a club.
All 10 hands are going to have clubs now.
Right.
But so, point is, I think the other issue for me is they need to get the offensive line sorted and gelled, and we need to see in training camp and in these preseason games which one of these guys can play and be consistent, and I think that's the other issue for me.
I think that's a good one. I'll give you my next one, also on the offense. When it comes to the running game, who's going to be the power back in short yardage situations? I'm hoping we can upgrade that from last year because we talked ad nauseum about Peyton Barber and how he just, his numbers don't make him a very valuable asset. He can get you the short yardage, but he was kind of useless outside of that. And he was used way too much. So I'm kind of wondering, who do they go to now? Because the 3 guys I like are all kind of scat back, speed back guys. At this point,
no one from Tampa did. His column this week was about training camp one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
So check that out on the website if you want to see it. The guy he predicted to be this year's training camp wonder was Jarrett Patterson.
Right.
And that's a fair assessment, I think. But I actually think Patterson has some talent. And
I do too.
He's not a power back or like a bowling ball by NFL standards, although
he's a Darren Sproles type.
Yeah, but the fans of the University of Buffalo looked at him as a bit of a bowling ball, but that's at a different level entirely.
But, you're talking MAC football bowling ball.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's different. But point is, I actually do think Jarrett Patterson is a bit of a wild card here. I'm not saying he's going to be the next John Riggins or anything. Don't misunderstand me. But I think he's got the talent to maybe displace one of these guys that's currently on the roster and sort of become a more traditional running back than Washington has. Because Antonio Gibson is not experienced. We love Antonio, don't get me wrong, but he's not an experienced A-gap power runner type guy. J.D. McKissick is, the modern-day Chris Thompson a little bit, and Lamar Miller, I don't know what he is. He's lucky to have a job. Peyton Barber, we've talked about. Jonathan Williams, wild card. And so I think actually Patterson, if he really is an NFL player, has a chance to become the guy you're talking about.
I'd hope so. I just worry because he's, 5'6" and 195.
He's for sure.
Yeah. Now, there could be an advantage to that in a short yard situation where you'll literally get him lost behind the line of scrimmage a bunch of times. And if he can find a hole, that's all he needs, right? So there is some advantage to that from that on the field level. That's one of those things that we forget about, I think, sometimes when we're looking at film and stuff because we're seeing everything from overhead. Whereas when you're eye level and a 5'6" guy is hiding behind a 6'6" guy who's 300 pounds, you're going to lose track.
It's definitely a point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think you raise a valid point. That's a good training camp thing to watch. Is no one from Tampa right? And Jarrett Patterson's a training camp one-hit wonder, or is he really legitimately a player? I think that's a good one to watch.
That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And that's a guy I'm kind of rooting for, just because you always want to root for those underdogs a little bit. Any others you want to cover?
I guess the last thing, real quick, to me, we're all high on Chase for a reason, but everybody needs to remember that Montez Sweat was actually better last year than Chase was. And so the question isn't, are those two guys going to be good? The question is, does Chase Young take the next step and live up to the hype and truly become an NFL elite level
Star,
player,
yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
I don't know if he didn't do statistically in production on the field. He didn't do that. I'm not saying he was very good, and he was Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year for a reason. But I think we need to see the next step and is he really going to become Julius Peppers? If he is, then we need to start seeing signs of that this coming year. And certainly, we're all hopeful that he can be. So I'm
yeah. I don't think this is we don't want it. This is a thing we want to see happen. And I think you're absolutely right. I was talking with somebody online at one point, and I said, not only was Montez Sweat better on the line last year, I think Daron Payne outplayed him for most of the year last year in most games. And John Allen probably on par with Chase Young in terms of when you look at production based off their positions and things like that. Allen had a down year too last year. So, if we're being honest, I think it's transition, I think so. That kind of stuff. So, Chase Young has to really leapfrog a couple guys to be the dominant force on this defensive line, frankly.
So I guess
he
what
could.
I'm encouraging everybody,
he absolutely could.
So what I'm encouraging everybody to do is take off your rose-colored glasses here, your burgundy-colored glasses, and honestly ask, is Chase going to take the next step? Hopefully he will. We think he will. But if that's something we need to see.
Right. And we realize it's not all numbers. Chase Young's best plays, he didn't get credit for like a sack or a tackle. Yes. A lot of his best plays are he's blowing things up in the backfield and causing the quarterback to run away into Montez Sweat.
Yeah,
or
and I think he had a lot of those plays.
He had a lot of those plays last year.
So we need to see it. That's my point. We need to see it. Yep. We think it's going to happen. We hope it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need to actually see it happen. So that's the other thing. So
yeah, exactly. I think that kind of covers everything for what we're hoping for, because I think we went over all the major position groups. All right, well, you know what? We're at 45 minutes. Why don't we – I know we want to do the athletic survey thing, but why don't we do special teams first? Okay. And if we have time, we'll cover that athletic story.
Yep. So this is our position group
breakdown.
Final one. So we're going to insert the position group breakdown theme music here.
Yay. Okay, there you go. That was the music.
I need to probably record something, write something for next year so we can have some. Anyway, so this is specialists and returners. So the easy thing here is, let's start with punter, Tressway, signed through 2024. Everybody loves Tress. Right. He didn't have a down. He had a good year last year, but it wasn't quite what it was in 2019, which was his best season. But nonetheless, Tress, I think, is I don't know, top 5 punter in the NFL probably.
And he's been that for the last 3 or 4 years now. Tressway, because people don't care about punters, Tressway is about as elite of a punter as you could have in the league. So
yeah, realistically, and he's outstanding. So Washington's lucky to have him. There's not much more to say about that. Just prayed in. Didn't we interview him? Wasn't he on this show?
Yeah. Remember he had his card game he was advertising at the time.
Yeah, that's
right. And I actually interviewed him at training camp too, just because he's such a nice guy. I wanted to chat with him again.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. By the way, Tressway, super nice guy. So we can add that to the list too of things about Tressway.
Listen, NFL punter as a job criteria doesn't suck.
No. Kick ball far and hard.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to practice very hard.
Right.
You were born with an elite talent. You have to do it in Washington's case many times a game, but in some teams' cases only a couple times a game.
Right.
You don't get hit. Basically, every once in a blue moon,
unless you want to go hit somebody.
Right.
You don't ever get hit unless you want to go hurt someone.
As a job, it doesn't suck. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on. I don't know what there's more to say about Tress. Dustin Hopkins, I think, is a bit more of a controversial
topic. Interesting topic, yeah.
Now, the fans don't like him. I get that. But let me say this. From a statistical perspective, he's not what y'all think. Yes, Dustin had a little bit of a down year last year, but the truth of the matter is, it boils down to he missed one more kick than his career averages. That's what it boils down to.
Right.
One more. He actually, was more or less on par. It was a little bit down. If he makes one more of those kicks in the 40 to 49 yard range, he'd been basically dead on every career average. So I don't think he's really fallen off at all. He's still a decent a good punt, a good kicker by NFL standards, and consistent. Now the telling part is that they only gave him a 1-year contract extension, which means that Ron wants to see him perform before he signs him up to multiple years.
Well, I think that's a big part of it, and kickers, we all know kickers are like wonky in terms of their hot cold streaks and how cerebral the game is for them. And I think there was one point last year where they were saying Hopkins was just in his own head with a lot of those misses and stuff like that. And he seemed to get better, at least from what I saw, as the season went on.
Okay, so he missed 7 kicks last year.
Yeah.
4 of the 7 misses came in the first 7 games, and then 3 of the misses came in the last 9 games, which means, yes, he had a bad first half of the season by his standards. But again, what it boils down to is he missed 1 more kick than he usually does. That's what it boils down to.
Sure. Now, the one other thing to mention with Hopkins, and I know age for kickers is, you have a longer career expectancy. He is turning 31 already. So he's not a spring chicken kicker. Like, he's not a young guy. This is, in kicker terms, like your early 30s to mid to late 30s is really when they start settling into what they're going to be for their career. Because kickers will last till 40 all the time, at least the good ones. So it'll be interesting to see. Does his number stay the same again? Do we see another? He has a low part in the beginning of the season and he gets better as it goes on. It's going to be a pretty telling season for him, frankly, in that regard.
Yeah, I think so. I think all you fans out there that hate him, hate whoever you want.
Off, you hate him for something that happened in London 5 years ago. Let's be clear about that.
People need to remember, and you're right, and people need to remember that there was a horrible wind that day. It was a horrible kicking day. The Bengals kicker missed an important kick too.
Yeah, equally short range.
Yeah, exactly. And it was because of the wind was swirling in what's the name of that place where they play out there?
Was it Wembley Soccer Stadium?
Wembley, yeah, it was Wembley. Yeah. Thank you. I think you guys just need to get over that. That was sort of more of a fluke than anything. So I think he deserves a bit of a break from Washington fans. I don't think you need to claim him to be the next Mark Mosley. But I think he deserves a bit of a break because he's been consistent and pretty good for Washington for a long time.
Look, there's the old saying that if a team loses, a bad coach blames the kicker. I kind of take that with a lot of fans' reactions to this stuff too sometimes.
Yeah. Well, okay, get rid of Hopkins. There's a million kickers out there, but there's not a million kickers who can consistently be a good kicker like how he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's been consistently pretty good for a very long time, and that's harder to find than you think.
He has been your classic B- to B+ range guy
that's exactly
for
right.
5 seasons.
Yeah, he's a B-level kicker since 2015. Yeah, exactly. You could do worse. So give Hopkins a break. So the change obviously was Nick Sundberg is gone. They did not re-sign him.
Yeah.
And then they drafted Cameron. What's that?
Bummer.
Yeah.
Everyone liked Nick Sundberg.
It seems like all the long snappers they've had are pretty good dudes. Like Ethan Albright was a pretty good guy. Nick Sundberg was a good guy.
Remember what you were saying about punter's a pretty great job? You want to talk about a better job? Long snapper.
Yeah, it's equally as good at a minimum. But you have to get hit a little bit when you're a long snapper.
That's true. Well, yeah, but they can't even line up over top of you anymore. Remember, they've changed that rule, so
but you're still
in
the tier. You still have to block somebody.
Eventually, yes.
The best job on any team is the third string quarterback.
Of course.
Yeah. But anyway, so Cameron Cheeseman is a new long snapper. Now, if you recall, I talked to one of the best long snapping coaches in the country, Chris Rubio. And Chris, when I asked him, I said, okay, this is before the draft. I said, knowing Washington's going to draft a long snapper, which we knew they would, give me your top 3. And Cheeseman was one of them. Cheeseman was the third name he mentioned. To me, that's an endorsement, So the benefit to Cheeseman, I think, is he's a pretty big dude. He's 6'4". Hopefully he'll be a bit more of a blocking asset than some of the other guys.
Yeah. He's got the classic long snapper height and size where he's, above 6 foot, in that, 6'4" range is fine, 230. Long snappers are really, people think of them as linemen. They're more like linebackers or tight ends.
Well, I think Sundberg was only 6'2", if I recall.
Yeah, but again, like I don't think the height is the important. It's more the weight that you notice. They're all on the smaller side than a lineman is.
Oh, for sure. But Cheeseman is a bit bigger than normal for a long snapper standard. So maybe he'll be a bit more of a blocking asset. This is me just hoping more than anything. But
yeah, it's all going to depend with him on just getting comfortable with Hop and Tress. Really, Tress Way more than anything because Tress Way's the placeholder too. So he's got to get comfortable with those guys. And just their rhythm and getting the timing down.
Yep.
Because there are a lot of little things with long snapping people don't take into account: ball speed, spin rates, things like that.
Well, there's targets too. They're hitting.
Yeah, targeting. Yeah. But if one of those things is a little bit off, you have to change everything. So.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. That's a special scoop.
Yeah.
So we've got kick returners and punt returners. We're going to go over here briefly. Kick returners,
which we've talked about before too.
Yeah. So kick returners, not nearly as impactful as years past. Danny Johnson is sort of the number one draft pick.
It's his job to lose.
I don't know if he's that good at it. Statistically, he's averaged 22 yards per return, which isn't that good.
No.
But it's also not horrible either. The other guy is Isaiah Wright, which is Alex's new love.
Right. Yeah. Alex, because he was really good at it at Temple.
Alex dumped Matt Ioannidis, and now is dating Isaiah.
Right? Yeah. So here's the thing: 22 yards. You have to remember that with kick returns now, if you take a knee or you fair catch it or whatever in the end zone, you get to the 25. It is almost never worth it to take a ball out of the end zone anymore. Yet you will still see everyone do it every kick return they can. Because they think, I can make a big play. And then they get tackled at the 15 or the 20. You've lost 5 yards for your team.
Yeah,
it drives me nuts.
Danny averaging 22 yards per return is going to mean he's going to end up somewhere between the 20 and 25, odds are, which is about or slightly less than what you would get if you just took a knee in the end zone. So what we're saying here is Danny Johnson is sort of a zero-sum game.
No, and it's not just him. Everybody makes this mistake.
Yes.
Basically, if I were an NFL special teams coach right now, I'd say stand on the 5. If it's going over your head, don't touch it. If it's, anywhere close to touching the end zone, just don't touch it. Let it roll. Because it's almost, unless they kick it short, it's never worth it to return a ball at this point.
Now, I will say this. I should have mentioned Steve Sims. Steve Sims had the job in 2019 and was slightly better because Johnson was hurt.
He did okay for 1 year.
Yeah, he was averaging 25.6 yards per return, which is a little better.
That means you're getting a net positive every time, or on average.
So point is, one of those 3 guys is going to be the kick returner, and they're not going to return too many kicks because that's not what the NFL does anymore. Now, punt returners.
This is still matters.
Yes.
And this is where we've stunk.
Right. And Nate Cascore talked about this a couple months ago when he did his media presser. And he named Deandre Carter, Isaiah Wright, Steve Sims, Dax Milne, and Danny Johnson as the players who get the first crack at it. He talked about Adam Humphries, but also made it known that Adam Humphries is going to play a big role in the offense, which leads you to believe that maybe he's not going to be the punt returner.
I think he might be the emergency guy, is what it sounds like, if somebody gets hurt or, everything else fails. But, yeah, that's what it seems to me is the case.
Yeah, I wrote a very long and detailed analysis of this because I'm just nerdy like that. I think probably the only guy who's really maybe a plus returner is Deandre Carter. And maybe Humphries, but Carter first. And to be honest, Carter was brought here specifically for this job. I mean, he's one of like 800 wide receivers they have on the roster. He's not brought here to be a wide receiver. He's brought here to be the punt returner, okay? So if you wanted to, who's the leading contender, it's probably him. I think he's probably going to get the first shot at it. And he's the one guy out of this bunch that has been better than average, which is, by Washington standards, is a huge improvement. Because let me tell you something. A part of that piece I wrote, I did an analysis of where Washington has been all these years. They've been horrible. It's not just your imagination. They've been the worst in the NFL at times. They've been bottom 5 most years. They are horrible in punt returns. And so if they could
it's almost like when they cut Brian Mitchell, they cursed themselves somehow.
Yes, exactly. They had Mike Nelms and they had Brian Mitchell, and because of that, just boom, went to hell. So if Deandre Carter can come in here and be even above average at all, that's a huge win.
Yeah. And the irony of all this is they've at times even spent resources to go and get guys like Randall L., who was one of the top returners in the game, and then he came here and fell apart. And he
had this weird predilection for running east-west and then taking a knee constantly.
Yep. Yeah. He did that a lot. It is. That's going to be a competition to watch if we're talking about training camp battles. But unfortunately, even in training camp, I can't speak about Rivera because we weren't there last year, but you didn't see serious effort under any of the previous special teams coaches we saw here. You didn't see a lot of serious effort into trying to get good production in training camp for punt returners to sort that out. You would see, all right, let's go shag a few balls, but that was about it, which was rather annoying, frankly.
Yeah.
I think they and I guess the hitting plays into it. You can't hit in camp anymore, so it's probably much harder to really get a grasp of who's going to be an elite returner.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But
we'll be watching it in preseason for sure.
Yeah. If you want a quick breakdown of the rest of these guys, so here it is. First of all, Danny Johnson's barely returned any punts. He's been a kick returner, not a punt. He has had a couple, but that's it. Dax Milne's not done it much either. He's just a rookie wide receiver who's a draft pick, and they're going to give him a shot. Steven Sims obviously has done it. He's been horrible.
Right.
Isaiah Wright's done it a couple times. He was great at it in Temple. He's been horrible at it in the NFL.
Yeah.
But he's not done it a lot either. So the only guy who has a lot of experience it's Carter and Sims. Sims has been bad, and the rest of these guys are basically rookies at the job. Danny Johnson's done it a little bit. That's really it. So Carter truly is in the.
He's got the inside track for sure. If you're going to give to anybody, it's going to be him right now. Again, we'll watch in preseason because that's the only time we'll be able to really see who can do this.
Yep.
Which is, kind of a shame that we don't have other opportunities to figure this out.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is our special teams position group breakdown, kids.
So the last thing I'll say about special teams, because we always overlook this, is there's always going to be a handful of guys who are picked solely for special teams in the end. And not to be kick returners, not to be, long snapper. But I'm talking about, we know DeShazer Everett's been on this team for years because he's just a key gunner and he's good in pursuit and on those teams units. And I don't know why. I get the feeling this year you're going to see turnover there. I don't know who yet, but I think that I won't be surprised if who's the rookie safety that we drafted from Cincinnati? I can't remember his name all of a sudden. But
rookie safety, was unprepared for this. You're talking about the 5th round draft pick. That would be Derek Forrest.
I won't be surprised if they're looking hard to get Derek Forrest to place guys like Everett or Johnson, or because even though those guys aren't old, you kind of need to keep your special team guys on rookie contracts, at least a couple of the key guys. So I won't be surprised if we see some serious turnover in those less appreciated but very valuable aspects of the game.
If you're new to the show, you may not realize that special teams is Alex's favorite thing about football.
Yes. It is.
He's the biggest special teams nerd you'll ever find.
Not my favorite. It's one of my favorites. I also love a good run blocking scheme. I love a good run blocking scheme.
There you go. But no, I think you're right. Generally, yes. There's going to be is DeShazer Everett going to continue to be sort of the leader of the special teams? We'll see. But there's one or two of these guys for sure. Derek Forrest may be one of them. There's probably a couple others in here.
Because we saw it under Shanahan at one point when Lorenzo Alexander had been the star special teams guy, team captain, all-around great guy, and he let him walk because he was costing too much money.
I want to say Lyndon Stevens is a guy who's done nothing but special teams play, in the past in his career because he's a 2018 undrafted free agent. I think Lyndon Stevens, if you want another wild card at this role, it might be him.
Yeah. Well, and when we were talking about all the linebackers, that they brought in last year who were just special teamers.
Yeah.
So, you got a lot of those. I think 3 or 4 guys. So that'll be interesting.
Yep.
To look at.
And so with that is the close of our specialist returners and special teams position group breakdown.
Yep, and our final position group breakdown. So,
yes,
we did it. We did it. Another year.
Off-season content.
Hashtag off-season content over. Awesome.
Exactly.
All right, we are at an hour, but you wanted to bring up this athletic survey. Do you want to do that really quick, or want to save it for another show?
We were going to go over all these questions because they're pretty good, but we don't have time for that. But I'll just go over a couple of them here because we don't want to take another 20 minutes.
So, we're just going to – Athletic did a fan survey. Steve thought some of the questions were good, and we're going to go over our opinions on the questions, or a couple of them. If you don't get the Athletic, you should, even though they don't have Mark Bullock anymore, and they should rehire him because they're stupid for letting him walk. Let me just say they still have great content. Ben, who's there, is an excellent writer. So
I mean, yes. ESPN pretty
yes
much
to
sucks.
Everything.
ESPN sucks now. We like John Kine, but beyond that, ESPN sucks. The Athletic is much better. So this is from Monday the 19th. It's not credit. It's credit to the Athletic staff. So you can look it up. Washington football team fan survey results. So we're not going to go over all 20 questions, but we'll go over a couple of them. Okay. What needs to happen for this season to be considered a success? The options that were given to the voters were win more than 7 games, finish with a winning record, return to the playoffs, or win a playoff game. My vote would be win a playoff game.
Win a playoff game. I mean, win a playoff game would be huge.
The question is, what needs to happen for the season to be considered a success?
Okay. I'm honestly still in the just finish over 500. Because it's been a couple years since we've done that, honestly. We went 8-7-1. That was the last time we were over 500. So if they can finish over 500, that probably means they get into the playoffs still in this conference. So, if we can get to 9-8, I'll be happy.
Okay. All right. Very good. Who will be Washington's MVP? Ryan Fitzpatrick, Terry McLaurin, Chase Young, Antonio Gibson, or other? My vote probably will be Terry McLaurin.
You're probably right on that one.
The fans, I'll give you a hint.
The fans will say Chase Young.
Yeah, overwhelmingly.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's be realistic. Chase Young will be given it even if Terry McLaurin has a Pro Bowl All-Star caliber season because the NFL is doing a big push on Chase Young. So...
Yeah, true. Okay, here's a good one. We're going to skip a few here. Who will prove to be the most valuable offseason acquisition? Ryan Fitzpatrick, Curtis Samuel, William Jackson, Charles Leno, Bobby McClain, Jamin Davis, Sam Cosmi, and other. The fans are split on this. I think I'd have to go Fitzpatrick for me.
By virtue of position, I think you have to go Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree.
He's a quarterback. Like, if a quarterback stinks, you stink. If a quarterback's great, you're great. So
pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you had Johnny Unitas playing for you in the 60s and 70s, you're going to be good.
Exactly.
Expectations for Jamin Davis. Here's the options. Inconsistent with many growing pains, shaky early start but stronger over the second half, a solid 3-down starter immediately, and then an elite Pro Bowl level player. For me, I'm going to say inconsistent with growing pains. The reason I say that is he hadn't actually played that much, okay? He was really a one-year starter in college, and he's got a bit of positional uncertainty, so I think he will be good, but I don't know if we're going to see it immediately.
I'm with you. Well, you know what? I'll actually say the third option, which was that he'll be good pretty much. I don't think it's going to take him long to at least be productive. Like he might have
so that was
one.
I think you're saying shaky early start but stronger over the second half. Is that what you're saying? The other one was a solid 3-down starter immediately.
I think I think he'll be a solid.
Okay.
Like I think he might have a bad first 2 games, but I don't think it's going to take him that long to at least be a 3-down starter.
All right. Well, I hope you're right about that. Let's see here. Biggest roster concern. We already talked about that. How should Washington handle the quarterback search? Here's a good one. Here's the options. Buy more time with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Let Taylor Heineke or Kyle Allen start to see if they could be the answer. Draft a top quarterback prospect. Pursue a proven free agent, or trade for an established player. To me, it's draft a top quarterback prospect.
I mean, it's the smart thing to do. It's a question of will they be in a position. There's too many variables to really know what the right move will be at this point because we don't know where they're going to be in the draft. But, let's say somehow they get a playoff run, they go deep in the playoffs. They're not in a position to draft a quarterback at that point.
Right.
Again. So, honestly, I think you got to try and hope you can stick it out with Ryan Fitzpatrick for another year if that's the case.
Well, I wrote a column about this. They're kind of in a bind, right? I mean, if Fitzpatrick plays well, great, I'm glad. That means we have a good season. But then you're talking about relying on a 40-year-old or whatever he is, and then you're not going to be in the position to draft a quarterback, and it's a bit of a catch-22. So that's a good. The fans were very split on this.
It's ironic what we said they should have done last year. I think you, me, many fans, maybe not everybody, kind of thought maybe they should have at least drafted somebody in the second or third round to groom. But they didn't even go that route last year. So if they finish deep again this year, I think they're going to have to look at that again. Like, you're not going to get someone in round 1. So maybe you're going to have to get somebody who can sit for a year in round 2.
Maybe. I mean, it's a good question. It's a big open question. I like the question, but not their answers here. How confident are you in Ron Rivera as the coach? Now, the poll questions were 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 without explanation. So I'm assuming that 5 is the most confidence and 1 is the least, I think.
Right. Yeah, I don't think people tend to do golf scores.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And so for me, I wouldn't say 5. I'd say probably 4. I like him, but he did a couple things that were weird, and I thought he mishandled the quarterback situation last year. So I can't give him a 5 in good conscience.
Yeah, I assume we're either finishing up on this one or one more. But I'm with you. You can't say it's a 5 because we finished at 7 and 9. Even if we made the playoffs, it's not great.
Yeah.
Things are not all perfect.
Right.
But I think he could get us there. I really look at Ron Rivera as another. He could be, if things go right for this team finally, he's the George Allen. He's not the Joe Gibbs. He's the guy who comes in, cleans up house, creates a good team for a couple years, and then the next guy might be able to get us over the hump.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They asked the Dan Snyder question. We're going to skip that because there's only one way that was going to go. I can't do touchy-feely. This one's way too...
Yeah, find a closer. Let's find a good closer.
Do you feel the organization respects and values as a fan? Oh, my God, it makes me want to vomit.
That's the one they were hyping in the story, too.
Oh, that's just awful. I mean, come on. Jesus Christ. Oh, here we go.
Found a good closer?
If Washington builds a new stadium, where should it be? Washington, Virginia, or Maryland?
Well, I know the answer. The most popular is going to still be Washington, even though it's probably the least realistic.
Okay,
right?
That wasn't a good closer. Let me find a better closer. I don't know if there's a better closer, man. Okay, no. Here I gotta go. Now here's a good, solid football one closer. Which projected veteran starter concerns you the most? John Bostic, Landon Collins, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Dustin Hopkins, Charles Leno, or other? That's a good That's a strong closer right there.
That is a strong closer.
For me, I'm gonna go with of that bunch.
I know mine. Can I give mine?
I'm gonna go with Charles Leno. He's got to be good. I mean, they have to have a good left tackle, and he's a bit undersized. He's been a solid performer, but he's also kind of, he's a journeyman, so that concerns me. I don't know if Landon Collins is going to be a starter.
Yeah,
So
that's actually why I would put Collins in there. You're talking about he's one of the highest paid players, and I have no idea what you're going to do with him. So
yeah, you know what? I'm going to change my answer. I think you're right. I was sort of... The reason I didn't go with Collins, I wasn't really sure I'd even want to call him a starter, but that is all by itself means that he's
that is the here's a big red exclamation point.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm changing my answer to Collins. I agree, and he won the poll by 44%. So that's a solid, good football related into the poll. So thanks to The Athletic for letting us steal your content. Good poll, good column there, and you can read it in The Athletic. It was dated July 19th.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff by The Athletic. They always have some fun things there going on in terms of fan stuff.
Stop with the touchy-feely question, though. We don't need that. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, we don't have feelings. We're football fans.
Exactly. There are no such thing as feelings in football.
Right. All right, guys. It is good to be doing one more show. Next week, we'll actually be talking about training camp fun. I'm sure everyone's going to just spend the week. If you're not at training camp, you're just going to be scrolling Twitter all week looking for highlights. That's all you're going to do. You won't be. I will be. Well, I'll be, even though I'm on vacation, I'll go hiking, then I'll come back and scroll and look for things.
When is the first preseason game?
Yep.
You have the calendar up.
Yep.
When is the first preseason game?
Shoot. My screen just went dark because of the sun. Hold on. Didn't I? I told you, didn't I? The 12th?
The 12th.
Yeah, I think that's what I said.
You're going to make me look it up. I was trying to end with a flourish.
Hold on. Let me put the 12th, 7:30 p.m.
All right. So, essentially, kids, that means we've got 3 weeks to go.
Yep.
Before football starts, and it's a good thing.
Yep. That I'm excited for that. Okay, guys. We will see you all then. Till then, keep on listening. Later.